I got to give Jokic a lot of credit. No superstar player after a series would go out there and throw his old coach under the bus. And ownership, and praising ownership. Obviously Jokic was one of the guys that couldn't stand Malone, because if he's going to go out there and praise the assistant coach and a guy that took over at the end of the season and a championship coach, which a championship team and practically this whole roster is the same when they won the championship, says a lot about what their team leadership is and what Coach Malone was in the locker room and the cancer he was on the court. The question is, even though they have David Edelman, they trust David Edelman, is David Edelman the guy that's going to lead them to a championship? Malone was a championship-minded coach. He's been a part of teams and rosters over the years, and he understands how to play the defensive side of the ball. Edelman, he likes to run the ball up and down the court. You see Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook looks better than he's ever had. And I think Russell Westbrook in this series had, I think it was 47% at the three-point line. Something that we've never seen Russell Westbrook do in a series, in a basketball series, in a playoff series. It's very, very unique when Russell Westbrook over the years has always thought of himself as the best player, the superstar player, the triple-double phenom. And then you look at what Nikola Jokic is. Nikola Jokic is practically the same player Russell Westbrook is, but Russ is not a big man that's 7 foot that can shoot threes and dominate the ball and bring the ball up without any athletic ability. And I'll say not any athletic ability, because he's a big man that can go up the court and looks like a deer in the headlights, and he finds a way to pass the ball. He sees the court so well. He's like Wayne Gretzky on a basketball court. So it is impressive when you have your superstar come out and praise the coach, the assistant coach that's become a coach, praise ownership, praise the executives, the GM, and everybody else, throw his old coach under the bus, and then look at his team and say, we can win a championship. We can go out and beat the OKC Thunder. We can win the West, and we can surprise and shock the world with the team that we have, the roster we have. The only thing that worries me about the Nuggets right now is the Nuggets are on a high right now. And the OKC Thunder, they're sitting right now. They're relaxing. They're a young team. They're one of the youngest teams right now in the NBA. They got a tremendous amount of talent. They have Shai Alexander that's going to be the MVP because the NBA wants him to be the MVP. And they're very well coached as well. So OKC is going to have home court advantage. They have, and again, going into this series against the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, I love Kawhi Leonard. He's one of the more underrated players we've seen in NBA history. He is a bona fide Hall of Famer, and when he is at the top of his game, you saw what he did with Toronto. We've seen that he was such an important piece to the San Antonio Spurs when they won their title against Miami. Kawhi Leonard is as good as anybody we've seen as a two-way player. The only problem with Kawhi Leonard over the years is he has knee problems. He can't stay healthy. And maybe Kawhi just doesn't see any future in the Clippers. Kawhi's getting old now. He's, 33, 34 years old. He's getting up there in age. He wants to win another championship. He's won with multiple teams. And now maybe he's thinking, maybe the Clippers aren't the team. Maybe playing with James Harden is not where I want to be. And does somebody like Kawhi Leonard push himself out in the offseason and say, I want to play for a championship competitive team. I don't want to be here anymore. It sounds like that's the way that's the route he's going after getting an extension. It's crazy, but Nikola Jokic, this is the best player in the NBA. He's been the best player for the last 6 years. This guy has so much tread left. What is he, 30, 31 years old? This guy's going to play 30. At the top. 30, 31 years old. He's going to play at the top of his game at least for another 7 years, because what he does well, he doesn't need to go up and down the court like a Russell Westbrook or a big man that is looking to set up and find his own shot. He sets up his own shot. He brings the ball up and creates passes and shots for his teammates. He is a unique player. Well, we have never seen a player of this magnitude. I know everybody keeps saying that Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward of all time. I know Nikola Jokic is a 5. To me, he reminds me more of a 4 because of his ability and what he does on the basketball court. So,
but is there really a position now? Because he brings the ball up, he passes like a 2 guard, he shoots like a 2 guard. Like, is it really a position anymore? Because it's not. Because He's doing things, and you can't compare eras, because he's doing things that no big man would have ever done 20, 30 years ago.
But it's also one of those things where there's no labels as much anymore if you could just have the traits to go along with it. We say the same thing about centers obviously being dying out for that reason, Joba. And then also point guards to an extent, too, where you're seeing a lot more wings that could bring the ball up now with Tatum, with Giannis, who's huge, who's 6'10", 6'11", who's like a power forward type. There's enough of those hybrid players as long as you can shoot and as long as you could be a playmaker. And that's where I think the position label is not the same way. He's a center based on his size. He's a center based on just being the tallest guy in that lineup and being the most effective inside with everything he does. But yeah, there's definitely no skill set like him either. And like Errol was saying, like he doesn't have to rely on like a crossover, like extreme like athleticism to pass the way he does. Errol and I were talking about it 2 years ago when they won the championship. How many great no-look passes, how many over his head passes that Nikola Jokic was able to do at that level. It's unbelievable what he's doing. You're right. There's nobody ever like him.
There's definitely nobody like him. And I don't think there'll ever be a player of that magnitude. Now, Cooper Flagg is a unique individual. He's not 7 foot. He's a 6'8". I would say a 6'8" power forward. If you want to play him as a 3, he's not big yet. He doesn't have that size yet as an NBA player to play the 4. But again, what Nikola Jokic does so well is he passes the ball. He's a big man that has a unique advantage as a big man where he can actually dominate a game by passing the ball or rebounding the ball. He doesn't need to score, even though he does that very well too. And he's a pretty good defender too. He's one of the more underrated defenders as a big man in the NBA. So there's no weakness this man has. He blocks the ball. He does everything. And he's so very good. He understands the game. So I think it's very unique. You get to see the two guys fighting for that MVP in the next round. I do believe Jokic should be the MVP, but the NBA's decided, or I think they've automatically made the decision that Shai Alexander is going to be the MVP because he's never been an MVP. But to me, right now, Nikola Jokic and what he's done this year with a team and a roster that's been up and down, new coach at the end of the season, and still put up the numbers that he's been putting up and was practically healthy all season long. After that long run in the Olympics in the summertime and actually played almost every single game this season, says to me that this guy's the MVP. But hey, the NBA is not going to decide who wins this series. That's the guy that's going to win the MVP. No. If they did, I think people are going to be very impressed what Jokic could do because to me, his all-around game absolutely outmatches what Shai Alexander does.